Hello and welcome to the top 4 round of the Kyoto Championships. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious. We've got another round that we're going to provide some unique English commentary and fun watch. Going to be an exciting one, at least for me, Nami being one of my favorite decks to play. Very exciting to see it in the top 4 round of this match. But before we get into that, before I tell you a little bit about the matchup and how this could potentially go, just want to clarify that I am not the official live stream. If you want to see the official live stream, I've got the link to it in the description below for you to watch. And then, so that I can pay rent for this month, let's hear from a word from our sponsor.
Our friends over at Nengarnet have officially kicked off the summer sale on their website. Prices are slashed from 10% to
40%
across the entire store now. You can pick up some crazy discounts on One Piece based mats like the Heavenly Yaksha, some great anime themed mats like Paranormal Playmat and also the Curse vs. Beast, as well as if you get a Sun God playmat right now while supplies last. Every purchase of this specific Stitched Edge playmat gets a free playmat tube as well to help protect what you love, as well as a brand new pre-order that's dropped in the Pokemon region if you're a fan of Final Boss, which the colors on this are insane, man. I love this design. You can use my code Atrocious to save an extra 5% off and help support the channel, and make sure to grab your new favorite playmat while this sale's going on because you don't want to miss it. Now, back to the video.
So looking at the deck distribution, green purple Luffy and blue purple Luffy left with one deck each, and then the other two, the Nami, as we're watching in this video, as well as the Rob Lucci. Nami, if you do not know, one of the more unique leaders in this game, debatably the most unique leader per the rules. As soon as you deck out, doesn't matter any time, as soon as you deck out, you win the game with the leader effect, as well as if you hit and take a life on your opponent, you get to mill a card from your deck. Typically capitalizes a lot on slower metas against setup decks, and green purple Luffy fits that bill at times. Green purple Luffy has its own aggression, right, with being able to manipulate Dawn, be a 6k leader, maybe swarm out different characters on the field with your leader effect and Luffy Taro, but it takes a second to get there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this Nami can capitalize on it. I will say in my testing, right, of this matchup, Nami is pretty much like a 60-40 in my opinion. It could be a little bit different in OP12. I do have the deck list, the exact deck list for the Nami, and it is a little bit different than what we've been running in like the OP10 format, you know, kind of the OP11 format, right, the first couple of weeks of it. So it's going to be really curious to see how it matches up against green purple Luffy. It is going first, so especially if they can play that one drop Nami on the first turn is going to be nice. We do see that one drop Nami in the hand, but they're thinking of whether they want to keep it or mulligan. Just because the one drop Nami is in hand doesn't mean that you want to keep it exactly. You definitely need a little bit more movement and a little bit more pieces to be able to feel comfortable with that deck in the first couple turns, so you're not taking too many silly early life. The Nami opting to keep the hand, the green purple Luffy opting to mulligan. And I will say, during this whole time, I will have a counter on screen that will show how many cards are left in the Nami deck, and I'm going to try my best. I've got a notepad and pencil here to be able to keep track as well during the match, so you all are aware of how close or far away the Nami is from winning the game and decking out. The Nami starting off right here has a one-drop Nami, which is going to be really, really nice to play in that first turn. You have the Brick Fist, which is good to get rid of different 4 costs on the field. It's really, really good in this matchup, especially with the early Zoro Juros and whatnot. Got a Gum Gum Giant Gavel, one of the better cards of the Nami deck, right? Plus 4,000 counter, and mills 2 cards from the top of your deck. Desert Spotted there to reorganize the top 3, whether you want to put it on top or bottom. And then Apis, a nice 2k, a staple 2k within the Nami deck. Has a little bit of flexibility as well as an East Blue character to be able to find other East Blue cards like Kaya and Saji's Pilaf. The green purple Luffy right here doesn't really have a great hand, I feel like, at this point, right? You have a little bit of draw and you have a little bit of search in that Nami and the Merry Go, but you really have to hope that it finds the right pieces, right? Because the Usohachi, maybe not really going to help you in this matchup. Gum Gum Giant and Thunder Bagua definitely not going to help you within this matchup. So I would say advantage as of right now is Nami. Not a lot of pressure that the green purple Luffy can put on, but with that draw of the Merry-Go and the Nami, like I talked about earlier, could be what they need to be able to stay in this game, right? Find your Zoros, find the Luffy Taros to be able to play multiple characters out on the field. Going to be interesting to see this one. And here we go in this match. Nami going first is going to sit at 40 cards, right? 40 cards to start the game and not drawing for turn going first. Is going to go ahead, play that one-drop Nami down. The one-drop Nami is so good to play, especially on your first turn, right? With that when attacking, finding any blue event is pretty much your whole deck. I don't think I've had a situation where Nami actually whiffs on the when attacking. Very infrequent, but the green purple Luffy is going to be going in with the Merry-Go stage first. Merry-Go stage is actually going to be pretty relevant in this matchup, right? I talked about Brick Fist being able to remove something like a Zoro Juro or maybe Frankie. With the Merry-Go, once they boost up that cost, not going to be able to remove it with the Brick Fist. Going to need something more like a Gravity Blade, but passes off the turn after getting the Sanji Pudding, is going to go down to 39 cards at the end of that turn. And so now with the Nami, looking at the top 5 right here, this top 5 not only is important to be able to find a card, which they will find off of that Sanji's Pilaf, but it's going to be able to set up their end game, right? Nami is all about, with these early game searches and these early game bottom decks, to know how their end game is going to set up, right? Once you get to the last couple cards, drawing 2 off that Sanji's Pilaf, you're going to be able to know exactly what the order of things are in your deck to be able to close out that game, right? Find the lines, and we see a couple of interesting cards in this Nami hand, having 2 2Ks in the A piece and also the Nami, that new promo movie Nami, or from the fan letter Nami, I think is what it's called. Anyways, going to be some nice cards to be able to not give up an early life. That Nami character does have a draw 1, trash 1 on that promo, so could be utilized within this. Is going to start off with a quick search of when you're at sea, you fight pirates to find that Secret Rare Luffy. That Secret Rare Luffy is going to be really important actually because of that double strike. So now the Nami on Nami violence is going to swing 3k at the Nami, and this 3k is actually really important because you're asking for multiple cards to get rid of it. And so now this 7k swing is going to be a quick life actually, so kind of surprising that they took that life. Just building up the hand a little bit is not going to be a trigger, and off the draw going to be at 35 cards now on their 5 dawn turn. So you like that they didn't play like a Frankie or Zoro Juro at that point at all. You do have another 1-drop Nami and also the 2-drop to work with, so definitely going to be playing that Nami down, doing that draw 1, trash 1. Going to be nice for filtering the hand, right? That Impel Down All-Stars you do not need. And then giving Arrested Dawn to the Nami on that activate main on that leader. It's going to go ahead and swing at the leader actually with that 1 Dawn. Going to be really nice because if they give up that life, right, that's another card that is cycled through the deck. So going to be really important, and passes off the turn with 2 up, right? You've got that rubber band, you've got the gavel, as well as the spadas. You're not really worried about taking life at this point, especially with the only 1 character on the field right now. Now going into their 6 dawn turn for the green purple Luffy. Going to be curious of when they want to. Or did they not grab a... No, they have that 6-drop Luffy in their hand. I'm sorry. I don't know why for a second I didn't see it, but going to be interesting to see when they want to swing with this, or when they want to play it down and be on the offensive. And it looks like right now you're not going to be able to get the double swing unless you use your leader effect at this point, which you may not want to do. You may want to save your dawn, just pass off the turn. I like this pass, right? You don't want to give any free mill to the Nami. The Nami getting free mill is huge within any matchup, right? And Deathwink is one card that we see off of this top that's really interesting, right? Deathwink left out of a lot of the lists in the last couple formats. This player playing 3 Deathwings in general in this deck list, a very, very high count. And we see on this search, this is the 3rd Kaya that's going to be bottom deck. So you're going to see maybe a lot of aggressive searching to be able to push those Kaias back up from the bottom of the deck. And it looks like off of this search has a couple different options with the rubber band and the Kaya. And so grabs that rubber band, puts it in hand, has a lot of Dawn to work with at this point, and you need to be proactive if you're the Nami. You need to keep finding cards, especially when you bottom deck all of those Kayas, right? Such a lifeblood. So using the Opus's on play effect, right? Pitching 2 cards from hand to look at that top 5 and find a East blue kind of card. Got a couple different options with the Nami right there. Nami being a good one and going to 31 cards in general. Might see this Nami even get played down to be able to have in the next turn, right, as a search. And there goes that Nami right there. Using the activate main on that 2-drop. That 2-drop being really, really nice and applying a lot of pressure. And so taking this life is going to go ahead and mill a card and go to 30 overall. Still has 5 Dawn left to be able to combat against this Luffy duo on the secret rare and the leader. Now going on to 8 Dawn. Could see a Luffy Taro come down on the field, swarm the board, right? Would be able to get the Luffy Taro and Sanji Pudding out on the field, be able to utilize your leader effect a little bit, and maybe be able to swing a couple times with the secret rare Luffy. Is going to do that 3,000 power swing again at the Nami, as we talked about earlier. And there's a certain point where sometimes you kind of think about, obviously not doing it on this one, but think about maybe saving the Nami, right? Force multiple swings into it and use up some of your counter events, but opting not to do it this time, letting the Nami get KO'd, and the Luffy Taro Sanji Pudding combo comes down. The Sanji Pudding is going to bring back a Dawn after that leader effect, and 3 Dawn is active. We'll see if they want to play down some more cards or be able to swing with Luffy multiple times. We're going to do a little bit more searching on this when you're at Sea You Fight Pirates. Does find the new SP Zoro Juro that came out in OP12, if you're wondering what that card is. We do have another one of those searches right here, so probably not swinging. I feel like at this point, maybe just playing another Merry Go. Is thinking about grabbing a 2K Usohachi. I do like this. As long as that 2-drop Nami is on the field, they're going to constantly be swinging more and more. So you're going to need a little bit of counter to be able to just block a couple of these attacks and passes off the turn. So now going into Nami's 9 Dawn turn at this point. Has a little bit of movement that they could potentially do with the Brick Fist, but starts out first at 29 cards using the Nami's when attacking effect. And there's that 4th Kaya hitting the bottom of the deck, so definitely going to need to be doing some searching. Is going to go ahead and find a White Snake. White Snake is a great card to get, right? Being able to make yourself a 6K leader, especially with this Luffy secret rare that might attack a couple times per turn. You might be in a situation where you try to bait out that moment. And so playing another Sanji's Pilaf does have 26 cards left in deck and still in 4 life, sitting at a pretty good spot, I feel like, at this point. I feel like you're feeling pretty good right now if you're Nami, and so that swing right there, matching the 6K leader, is going to get a nice Robin, 1K Robin, not useful in this matchup, and passes off the turn. I like this pass, right? You have a little bit of Dawn up, but you did a bit of movement with the Sanji's Pilaf and the Nami. You know that the Nami is going to redirect one of these swings, right? Mostly the 1-drop Nami on the field. Interestingly enough, too, one thing that I have found pretty interesting is with the leader swing on the Nami, right? They've always gone at lead, right? At the green-purple Luffy. They haven't gone at this 1-drop Nami that's on the field after the 1-drop Nami has swung at your 1-drop Nami, right? So we're constantly seeing this cycle of clearing out these 1-drop Namis. If we got rid of that 1-drop on the field, sure, we wouldn't have pressured maybe to hit like a life or something like that. But what we could have done at that point, as we go down to 24 cards on this gavel, is we would have been able to redirect one of these either leader or character swings at our 1-drop Nami. So really interesting to see that in this. Maybe it doesn't matter that much because the leader would end up swinging at it anyways, but I just thought that was kind of curious in a sense. But now on that 4-drop Zoroark is going to find another Sanji pudding, which is going to be nice to put down on the field eventually, but goes ahead, uses leader effect, and gets back 1 Dawn. Might potentially play over the Nami, right, with the Sanji pudding. We could maybe even see multiple swings here as this 7,000 power swing now goes at lead. Does have another giant in the hand, but is going to go ahead and use the White Snake. The White Snake is going to make you a 6,000 power leader for the rest of the turn, and could go ahead either use a 2K or the Rubber Band of Doom to go down to 22 cards and get out of that swing. We see an Overheat hit the trash. Overheat, a very nice card that we see sometimes in these Nami lists. Not in a while, but we see it this time around. This now 8,000 power swing going at the Nami could just be a Gum Gum giant gavel to be able to get out of the swing, right? You could pitch something like the Desert Spada in hand, and the Gavel Spada combo is going to be coming down, putting them to 20 cards left in the deck and getting out of that swing going to 10,000. You could probably get out of one of these Luffy swings, but if the Luffy decides to swing twice, you may be taking one out of these to life, unless potentially the Luffy attaches 3 Dawn and swings twice at 10,000 power. That might be a little bit more difficult for you to get out of with 1 Dawn left, right? Can't use that Deathwing, so you're using the Rubber Band of Doom, you're using the OP02 and so goes ahead, just rest 5 and plays down the Sanji and Pudding. Is going to draw a card because of the Dawn numbers right behind on Dawn. Uses the Merry Go card to be able to boost up the cost of 2 on the Luffy. Even though not in this deck list, we have seen in the past different Namis run something along the lines of like Gravity Blade, Raging Tiger, right? As we use that Sanji Spiel off, I believe we're at 17 cards now left in deck. Could have used a Gravity Blade potentially at some point to be able to get rid of 2 of these characters on the field, right? So that Merry-Go puts it out of the way in that attack. Passes off the turn right now. Has 2 Deathwings in hand. Also has a giant gavel as well as Rubber Band of Doom. You're going to be able to at least guarantee, I believe, with the amount. Actually, no, you don't have enough Dawn at this point. I was going to say you could draw both times off of the Impel Down All-Stars, but that's not how it's going to work. Is going to get out of that Deathwing, go down to 15 cards, taking out that Sanji's Pilaf on the draw, sitting at 15 cards left with 4 life right now. Does seem to be in a nice position, but you got to be careful with how you're managing the Dawn as you're countering out of these swings. The Desert Spada is going to be nice to be able to reorder, and especially if you use this Rubber Band of Doom, you're going to be able to guarantee what card you mill off the top of the deck. And here's a really interesting spot. Now that we see this Kaya once again, we now know the final 15 cards of our deck, right? We've been able to cycle all the way through. We've seen all 4 Kayas on those Nami searches. We can now set up our game plan. If you remember exactly what the order of those 15 cards are, you can set up your game plan of seeing when you're going to be able to hit something, when you're going to be able to draw into something, as well as knowing what the 4 cards in your life, all right, how many triggers do I have in there, how many draw 2s, things of that nature, and decides to put it at the bottom, right? Does not want to mill any of those cards, especially in the late stages of the game, and so uses that Rubber Band to mill that card. And now the 6,000 power swing going to be an OP02. We're probably going to be taking a couple life here, right? We do have this 7,000 power swing and restand. We do have a Deathwing in hand, so we're going to be able to draw 2 cards, but we'll only have 1 Dawn left for the other Luffy swing, the Luffy Taro swing, and also the leader swing. The Deathwing drawing a fresh 2 cards is going to put us at 12 cards left in the deck. Definitely very nice as we get 2 Kayas back to back at this point. So probably don't want to counter out. We're just going to free take this life, and it's going to be taken a Love Love Mellow. Can't counter out with the Love Love Mellow, but is going to be really nice to try to hit this end game at this point. And so a 5,000 power swing, I think at this point, is going to go ahead, take a life, Could be an overheat trigger, I think that is. The overheat trigger might be nice to be able to grab back like the Nami that's there in the deck, but I don't think Nami really accelerates your game plan that much. It might just be better to hold that in hand to be able to pick up your Kaya once again, right? Be able to get 4,000 power and then another 2k down. So no triggers as of yet in the Nami, just very, very good gameplay. And the other secret rare Luffy coming down is going to get another swing going. And so now is going to be another 7,000 power swing with 2 swings left to go. You're at a tricky position now as the Nami. When do you get rid of the Kayas, right? You only have 1 Dawn left. Theoretically, if you know that there's a 1-cost counter event in there that's going to be able to help you, and there is one of them, the Rubber Band of Doom, but the draw is a snake dance, so you gotta be able to counter out of the attacks, right? Only 1 more attack, it's that Luffy Taro would attack 9, and so you gotta bank on this last card either being a 1-cost event or a counter card, right? Because you can only match a Luffy Taro 9k swing right now, unless they leave it up for maybe like a Gum Gum Giant. Definitely, especially with that secret rare Luffy, it makes things go sour for the Nami, but is going to take this life. It's going to be an Impel Down All-Stars. That's going to draw 2 right there. 2 nice triggers to go at the end of that. I believe that was 8 cards. I think I've had a good job counting this. And with the 1 cost of the Rubber Band of Doom is going to mill us down to 7, and the 2 2Ks is going to get out of that attack, put us to 11,000 power. And even though we don't really have any movement in hand right off of this draw right here, we do have a ton of counter, but with that Kaya on the draw for turn is going to put us down to 4. Again, kind of maybe knowing that the Kaya was there, you are going to be able to, after pitching those 2 cards on the Kaya, really get to the end of your game, right? 4 cards left in deck. You got draws off the White Snake. You have draws off the Love Mellow. It doesn't matter if they swing 18 at lead, right, with the Luffy Taro. As long as you hit 0, you're good to go. And so putting on a little bit of pressure with that Rested Dawn with that Nami is going to proc a 2k. Again, don't want to mill out. You're going to have to hope that one of these cards that you put at the bottom is a draw. And I think, if I remember correctly, the second to last card is a Love Mellow. So that is going to be your guaranteed draw as long as you didn't mess up the ordering. Either the third to last card or the second to last card is a Love Mellow. So all you have to do is just get to that 1 card and you've solidified the game, right? Luffy doesn't necessarily have any put cards back in the deck in this, and so it's just going to be swinging a ton with this. Luffy says, you know what, you either have it or you don't have it. So is going to go ahead and do that restand effect with the Luffy and says, all right, do you have it or do you have it? The Love Mellow going to draw 1. What is it? It's the Deathwing. That also, I think, no, I don't think that actually seals the game, but does get you a little bit closer on that. The White Snake does draw a card. There's the Kaya. Uses 2 for the Love Mellow to draw another card because you only have 3 in hand off the Love Mellow. And using the Kaya and Apis with that final 3 is going to use the Deathwing to draw a card. So I was wrong. I also thought it was Love Mellow. It was White Snake. My apologies on that. I was wrong on the order of the cards, but the Deathwing being very nice, especially with the different counter cards, to get you to 0 and win the game. And again, like I was saying earlier, of Nami just capitalizing on slow setup decks, right? Didn't necessarily have incredible starts, had very good start. And the Green Purple Luffy didn't necessarily miss on having bad starts, but the Nami just being able to use that 1-drop to set up the entire end game, right? Know exactly like, okay, I can take some life. I know I got some triggers in there. Finding the Kayas yet again and putting themselves in a position to be able to draw them either off of triggers or draw them for turn really accelerated that end game and put them in a prime position to be able to seal it up. And that's one of the dangerous things about Nami. But before we head off here, let's look at some deck lists. I don't think we have the exact deck list of the Green Purple Luffy, but this one probably decently close to what our player was running, right? You have the core set of characters in the Zoro Nami to be able to search in the early game alongside the When You're at Sea You Find Pirates event, as well as the lifeblood of the deck, Sanji Pudding in the 6-cost secret rare Luffy. Your goal is to get this Sanji Pudding on the field, be able to use your leader effect, and get back Dawn to be a 6k leader. And the different searching as well as Frankie can help get you there in terms of the manipulating Dawn, getting them back, and being able to constantly have enough Dawn to be able to pressure your opponent. Luffy Taro, a great card to be able to swarm the board, especially when you get to play Sanji Pudding or even a Zoro out onto the field, especially as they're both 6,000 and 7,000 power bases. But like I was mentioning, sometimes slow setup decks just fall hard to Nami, and we saw it in that game. Nami just having great command, not giving up life too early to the Luffy, and really having that control in the end game. Let's look at that list. Now here's the Nami list, and a couple things really surprised me within this deck. One, the inclusion once again of Overheat. Overheat, a great card, do not get me wrong, but has often been left out of a lot of different Nami lists over the last couple formats. Has a nice trigger to be able to return a 4-cost or less to the owner's hand, right? Has a little bit of removal potential both for you and your opponent, but being able to return an active 3-cost or less character to your hand is so nice to be able to cycle things like Kaya, Apis, right? Even maybe this 2-drop Nami promo. The 2-drop Nami promo we saw put in a lot of work in that game. Actually very surprising how much work it put in. Then I thought a really nice one of in this deck is really good probably for matchups that don't have a lot of removal, like that green-purple Luffy, right? Knowing that it's going to stick on the field, you'll never swing with it, and you'll keep using that activate main to get Arrested Dawn onto your leader and really pressure your leader effect. The high inclusion of Deathwink was also very surprising in my opinion, right? A card that is very fringe for a lot of people, making its way back into this deck. Really having much more of a focus on, okay, I'm going to be able to set up my hand to be able to draw 1 or 2 cards with this Deathwink every single time. And the final card that I'll mention in terms of the surprises, I will say, is the Daz Bones, right? Daz Bones, a card that I love. Being able to get a 1-cost event back into your hand is so clutch sometimes. Whether that's the Gum Gum Giant Gavel, the Rubber Band to be able to mill cards, or maybe even Desert Spada to be able to look at that top 3. And honestly, sometimes you could even grab Impel Down All-Stars as well to fit alongside the Giant Gavel that you have in hand already. But the core of Nami is definitely here, has not changed too much. Your Sanji's Pilaf and Kaya's are the lifeblood of the deck, right? Draw so many cards, but the inclusion of the 1-drop Nami and OP09 accelerated this deck back in a viable position within the game, being able, once again, like I mentioned, to find pretty much any of these pieces in your deck, right? A majority of your deck almost never whiffing, but also setting up your end game. It's almost more important than a lot of other 1-drop searchers that we have in the format, because Nami really wants to set up that end game plan. Very exciting to watch. Excellent job by this player. I don't think there was really anything that I had a problem with, although I don't know if I would have the right to be able to, because they're in the championships of the Kyoto championships, and I have yet to win a regional. So, but anyways, our finals match is going to include Nami, and it's also going to include Rob Lucci, which a lot of people would say is a terrible matchup for Rob Lucci. But I will say, as someone that's played many matchups of Nami into Rob Lucci, if the Nami can't do anything, Rob Lucci could just curb stomp you. So it's going to be an exciting one. I'm excited to check that out. Hopefully you join me in that with that video later. I'll see you later in the next one. And thank you again for watching. Again, thank you for your support as I'm back home like 3,000 miles from home, and I don't have any of my proper equipment. I don't have my mic. I'm just using a wired headphone Apple headset that One ear doesn't even work on this. I'm glad the mic part works at least in a computer that is probably 7 or 8 years old. So we're getting there. More content definitely on the way, especially once I get back into Las Vegas and after the Las Vegas Regional. And I hope you join me for that. Thanks.